From a stretch of open water, roughly 40 nautical miles from Bajo de Masinloc, Allied ships and aircraft rehearsed a choreography of cooperation and caution this week, a multinational exercise intended to sharpen how 5 navies and air forces move, talk and fight together if the need ever arises. What unfolded was a study in 2 things at once: interoperability and observation, the hard, practical work of joint operations, and the quiet attention of others who came to watch. The exercise began at sea on April 24, and by the time commanders described the activity, had entered its 6th day of maritime manoeuvres and sat within the larger 9th day of the full Balikatan schedule. Under the on-scene command of BRP Miguel Malvar, 8 ships trained together in a maritime cooperative activity designed to simulate the routine and the complex, close maneuvering, replenishment at sea, and communications procedures that allow separate navies to operate as a single cohesive force. Ships on the scene included Philippine vessels BRP Miguel Malvar, BRP Antonio Luna, and BRP Cape St. Augustine, alongside the USS Ashland and USCG Midget from the United States, Japan's JS Ikazuchi, Australia's XMAS Melbourne, and Canada's HMCS Shawinigan. Together, these ships practiced formation keeping, coordinated manoeuvring, and the radio language and procedures that make multinational operations predictable and safe. At the same time, those on scene were being watched. The commanding officer of BRP Miguel Malvar, Captain Paul Michael Hechenever, reported the presence of several foreign vessels and aircraft conducting surveillance in the vicinity of the drills. He said that for the duration of the activity, his crew had detected 4 PLA Navy warships around the area and had monitored 3 aircraft operating nearby: a fixed-wing maritime patrol aircraft, an unmanned system flying above 20,000 feet, and a shipborne helicopter. Among the surface platforms being tracked, crews identified a Jankai 3rd-class frigate, a Jankai 2nd-class frigate, a Yankai 2nd-class frigate, a Yankai 2nd-class frigate, a Loyang-class intelligence ship. 2 Coast Guard vessels were also observed in the same maritime space. Those observations were delivered in a tone meant to be read carefully by diplomats and sailors alike. Captain Hechenever emphasized restraint and how the other forces behaved. Generally okay naman sila cordial and behavior nila sa attend. No confrontation, no radio challenges. They're just here monitoring our activity. That restraint is significant. When exercises are visible and public, they are invitations to be watched. How those watchers behave, whether they shadow quietly, signal aggressively, or attempt to interfere, helps determine whether a week of training remains exactly that or turns into an incident. Training at sea was only one element of this week's agenda. On land and just off the coast of Zambales, Philippine and USF, ORSAs conducted integrated air defense drills and live-fire anti-drone exercises near San Antonio. These activities tested layered approaches to air defense that are increasingly relevant in modern conflict. A combination of sensors, command and control links, mid- and short-range interceptors, and point defense systems arrayed to defeat threats at different altitudes and speeds. In practical terms, that meant a range of hardware and tactics. US units used Stinger missiles fired from Avenger air defense platforms to engage training drones. Ground units and ship crews coordinated radar tracks, shared a common operational picture, and rehearsed the decision sequence: detect, evaluate, classify, and, if necessary, engage. Training scenarios included intercepts at multiple altitudes. One engagement credited the Marine Air Defense Integrated System with intercepting a Banshee target at roughly 9,000 feet. Troops practiced both kinetic options, missiles and guns, and tactics to counter small, low-flying, unmanned aircraft that are proliferating across conflict zones. Major Xerxes Trinidad of the Armed Forces of the Philippines framed the exercises in plain terms, stressing preparation rather than provocation. He said, "Hindi amano ito para mag-provoke. Mingi abang bansa kundi pagahanda, lamang sa posibleng bansa." That careful message that the drills are precautionary, not aggressive, is part of the deliberate diplomatic language that accompanies multinational training. Military planners want to make clear that readiness and deterrence are not the same as escalation. The emphasis throughout the week was on integration. The 960th Air and Missile Defense Wing of the Philippine Air Force took part in simulated engagements intended to improve the wing's ability to merge its sensors and shooters with allied systems. Officers described the approach as a layered defense. Early warning radars and distributed sensors build a single picture, Command and Control Networks, SHA. The conflict, E-tracks, and a range of weapons, from short-range interceptors and portable systems to shipborne point defense, are available to defeat identified threats. In the words of one exercise brief, when a track is evaluated and considered hostile, then it will be distributed or relayed on our air defense systems to the appropriate shooters. Those words reflect the practical, procedural backbone of integrated air and missile defense. Back at sea, the maritime cooperative activity, 8 ships operating under BRP Miguel Malvar's on-scene command, practice close-quarter maneuvering and replenishment at sea procedures. These are the kinds of skills that matter in real operations. How do vessels keep stationed safely in close proximity? How do ships transfer fuel while underway? How do disparate communications systems mesh so that orders, contacts, and navigational information are shared without ambiguity? The point of these rehearsals is simple: to build trust and a shared operating language that reduces the chance of miscalculation when ships or aircraft encounter one another in crowded waters. Commanders judge the sea drills to have met their objectives. One on-scene commander summed up that assessment plainly: generally na achieve nating ang lahat ang objectives ang lay eating exercise. And the most important thing is that we accomplished it safely and successfully. The phrase captures both achievement and the overriding priority placed on safety. For sailors and aviators, safety is the product of disciplined watchstanding, clear rules of engagement, and professional behavior under stress. Those habits cultivated in repeated drills are what keep training from becoming trouble. There are, however, broader threads to these exercises beyond the tactical. Every multinational drill carries a diplomatic and strategic dimension. The presence of observer ships and aircraft from a neighbouring power serves as a reminder that the maritime space around the Philippines is a stage for both cooperation and competition. Observers on the scene characterize those watching forces as monitoring rather than confrontational, but the very act of monitoring feeds into diplomatic conversations once crews return to their respective capitals. For analysts, the anti-drone and air defense elements of the exercise point to a changing set of priorities on modern battlefields. Small, inexpensive unmanned systems have become a widely available and operationally significant tool for both state and non-state actors. Counter-drone tactics are therefore varied, from electronic warfare measures designed to jam or seize control, to kinetic interceptors intended to destroy hostile systems. Live-fire drills that incorporate shoulder-fired missiles, Avenger procoms, and integrated ground sensors, Avenger practical way to test whether doctrine, training, and hardware work together under time pressure. That practical learning is intentional. Exercises are laboratories that expose capability gaps, test communications and logistic arrangements, and give commanders hard after-action data to refine training cycles and procurement choices. We determined our gaps on that and music when we come back home. We will address that gaps in order for us to perform well in our duty, reflected a drill participant, acknowledging that honest appraisal is as important as the maneuvers themselves. The human element threaded through every part of the week. Beyond hardware and tactics, Balikatan is about relationships, the everyday work of learning how to speak the same operational language, how to share radio procedures, how to coordinate logistics and command structures so that the next time Allied units operate together, there are fewer surprises. These interpersonal habits of professionalism and predictability reduce the risk that routine monitoring will escalate into conflict. As the exercise moved toward its scheduled end in the first week of May, planners and commanders prepared to file after-action reports. Those reports will catalogue successes and note where communications, sensors, or weapons did not perform to expectations. They will inform training programs and procurement decisions, and in a broader sense, will shape how the participating countries organize future exercises. There are immediate diplomatic consequences as well. Observations of foreign surveillance assets will be noted in diplomatic channels, and navies will continue to exchange navigational and safety messages at sea. The week's narrative, at least from the view of those who led the drills, was one of measured professionalism. Coalition forces practicing complex maneuvers, exercising layered defenses, and doing so in the presence of observers whose posture, on the record, remained restrained. That restraint matters. When professional behavior replaces bravado, it reduces the chance that a single misread radio call, an unexpected maneuver in close quarters, or a misunderstanding. Should intercept will spiral into a wider incident. Joint exercises are, in effect, investments in predictability in a shared set of expectations that make high-risk encounters safer. For the countries involved, Balikatan has an immediate and practical purpose: to build readiness, to rehearse the logistics and the command routines of coalition operations, and to sharpen the tactical skills necessary for defending territorial and allied assets. For regional observers, the drills were a signal. The countries involved are investing time and resources to practice collective defense, and they are demonstrating commitments to the interoperability that underpins deterrence. The tactical lessons are likely to be technical and clear, refine sensor handoffs, close communications gaps, and address any shortfalls in shoot-look-shoot procedures for integrated air defense. The operational lessons are procedural. How do on-scene commanders manage mixed fleets with different rules and systems? The strategic lesson is behavioral. Visibility invites attention, and attention can be either disciplined or destabilizing, depending on choices made in the moment. When crews next file their logs and when analysts pore over radar tapes and radio transcripts, the guiding principle will be the same one emphasized repeatedly at sea and on the range: preparation, not provocation. As one officer put it after the maritime cooperative activity, the most important outcome was accomplishing objectives safely. That sentence is as much a doctrine as a report, a reminder that professionalism and preparation are the best tools to prevent an ordinary week of training from becoming anything other than that. In the days to come, the lessons from these drills will make their way into training schedules, into procurement conversations, and into diplomatic notes exchanged between capitals. The visible, disciplined exercise of collective capability is itself a signal to maritime commerce, to regional power, NERs and to watchers offshore, that navies, coast guards and air forces can work together, that they can rehearse defences across domains, and that when they meet in crowded seas, they increasingly speak a common language of safety and procedure. This week, across sea lanes and over training ranges, sailors, airmen and marines practice the habits that reduce risk: clear communications, disciplined watch standing, and the rehearsal of layered defences against the kinds of threats that have changed in character over the last decade. Servers were present, they monitored, and, according to on-scene commanders, they did so without confrontation. For now, the story is a practical one of capability and caution. Collective forces rehearsing how to plan and operate together, integrated air defences being exercised and refined, and the presence of outside watchers underscoring the strategic stakes that lie just beyond each day's training horizon when the ships and aircraft return to the FEC. When home ports and when after-action reports are filed, the crews will carry with them the immediate lessons of this week and the enduring idea that readiness is built in the calm work of practice, trust and transparency.